So each of the three pillars, yesterday, today, tomorrow, have three levels, the basic level, the intermediate level, and the executive level. Tomorrow, the executive level is the CEO, the founder. They're responsible for the mission, vision, values. Defining what your values are will let you make great decisions that are consistent with who you are in every other aspect of your business. Then you define your mission, what gets you up in the morning. So my mission is to help business owners just like Cosmin win at the great game of business. It's not a complicated mission. It's not an easy mission sometimes because I have to get to know your business and I have to get to know more than your business, your family, the stakeholders. But once that's done, we can then define the vision. What will Cosmin's business look like when it reaches maturity?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Solopreneur Grit podcast. Once again, my name is Cosmin Gabriel. I am the founder of the Solo Grit community, where our mission is to connect leadership solopreneurs so we can all succeed together with grit. And that's growth, resiliency, integrity, and being teachable. And in today's podcast, I am really excited to introduce somebody that I've had the privilege to speak to a few times and just was a wealth of information, especially for us as leadership solopreneurs, the fractionals, the consultants, the advisors, the coaches, anybody that provides that leadership to businesses and organizations and individuals. And so without further ado, what I want to do is I want to introduce Donald Morgan. Donald is the founder at the Independent Wealth Connections, and he's entrusted with steering the organization's strategic vision and operational success. His role is centered around driving growth, fostering client relationships, and ensuring excellence in service delivery. And today, we're going to talk about the three pillars that Donald really is an expert in, and that's specifically the three pillars of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the approach to companies and planning. And so without further ado, Donald, welcome to the Solopreneur Grit podcast. How are you?
Cosmin, I'm awesome, and I'm really excited to be on the podcast with you. I love what you're doing at Solo Grit. I love the concept of the definition of grit. And grit is not talked about a lot in our society today, and I think it should be talked about a lot more. Anyone who's ever done what you do, what I do, what your audience does knows it's not as easy as everyone says it is. There are days when you have to grind through, and you've got to really show that you've got the grit to get it done.
That's right.
And so to be here with you today, it's a great honor and a real privilege, and I appreciate the opportunity. I've been doing this in one way or another. I've been involved in the world of finance and the small business community, the small office, home office, Main Street companies, the tail end of 1978. So I've seen this world go from carbon paper and dial telephones and slide rules to calculators and computers and now video communication. This was science fiction when I started.
Yeah.
And now we're able to reach out and help people literally around the world. So this is an exciting time. The challenge that most solopreneurs have is they know what they know, they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so having someone define in simple ways a roadmap that lets them do what they intend to do much more easily, learning from the pain other people have been through.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about the three pillars of the business world being the tomorrow department and the tomorrow people that fit in the tomorrow department,
Mm-hmm.
the today department and the type of people that fit there, and then the yesterday department and the people that fit there. And you know, if you put me, I'm a tomorrow person. If you put me into a yesterday role, which I've done and I can do, whether it's balancing a checkbook or preparing HR reports for my workers' comp policy or any of the yesterday functions that we'll get deeper into, I can get them done. I'm just not happy at it. I'm not through my best and highest, most unique skill set use. And the solopreneur is doing what they're doing because they don't want to be put into a box. I would argue is they need to figure out really where they're because ultimately you're going to be in a box,
Mm-hmm.
either one that you've made or one someone else has made.
Yeah. So speaking of boxes, I don't want to put you in a box, but I'd love for you to share just a little bit more about independent wealth connections and what specifically you do before we dive into the
Sure.
the topic for the listeners to really get to know you a little bit more. So you can just quickly tell us a little bit more about your business and kind of your journey of what led you, because it sounds like you started. We'll say early on in a lot of things. And, now we're in the age of AI, and thankfully we're both human beings and not AI avatars yet. That's another conversation. But yeah, let's hear a little bit about your business and what led you here.
The business today is what's known in the industry as an ensemble. There's a group of us, uh, and we're a blended firm in that we have W-2 employees and a lot of 1099 employees. So I'm a big believer in fractional teammates who have very specific roles and do certain things very, very well. In the context of what it is we do for our clients, if you go to iwealthdigital.com, you'll see a case study of how we helped one solopreneurial family, husband, wife, and hassle of kids, reduce their taxable income by almost 50% and put that extra $600,000 into a IRS qualified tax deferred account for them. This saved them over $250,000 in taxes. And when they looked at this with me, their question was, why didn't any of my other advisors tell me about this? And I happen to know their other advisors well. And I said, look, the challenge that you went through is you were more successful than they're used to. You went from an average of $400,000 a year for a number of years to $1.4 million in 1 year, and they're not used to that kind of leap in income. They're used to a quote normal environment where people get a 3% cost of living. Well, the solopreneur, when it starts working, is going to go up the economic scale much faster than their average advisors used to. And so we recognize who we are. We work for solopreneurs and the Main Street business owners, and we have solutions all the way up rather than just in a narrow band.
Mm-hmm.
So we're financial planners at our heart. We plan for business owners, families, and their key employees. We also take care of their line employees through, standard benefits packages, and we customize those for the benefit of the family's desires and goals.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always looking at what's the end game.
Got it. Got it. That's fantastic. And as a solopreneur, myself for a few years, when you first get in, you have all these questions of, okay, I hopefully you have your first client when you begin the journey, and you have some type of income. But many solopreneurs, they don't even start with establishing an LLC, right?
Right.
And so and there's steps to that, and um, you know there's so many opportunities to do that. But let's say you start an LLC. The next question is like, okay, yeah, what do I do from the taxation? There's so many questions. I know, we're as a solopreneur business, you're typically a service. And so how do you deal with state taxes and everything else? But more importantly, and where, I had a lot of question was on the healthcare side of things, right? Like, how do I do that? But in the end, the year end comes and, okay, am I structured in a way where I'm not paying a lot of taxes, and am I set up right? And, having a relationship with you and your business, and that type of service really helps, gives you that peace of mind to say, okay, I'm going to focus on what I do best of being providing leadership in whatever function and industry I'm in, while I partner with, someone like yourself and your company to take care of the rest. And many solopreneurs, they may not be able to, all air quote here, be able to financially do it. But I really encourage individuals to get into a relationship with someone like you in your business early on to avoid that headache. And so I love that, and I love the fact that you're taking this opportunity to talk with me here at Solopreneur Grit, because it's just so important, especially in the beginning of the journey, and but also in the health of your business, moving forward as you're establishing yourself and growing. Is that right?
Totally. And you touched on so many important topics, health as one of them. When you're the solopreneur and you get sick, I've been off for a week.
Mm.
As I built a team, customer service continued, business continued, plans continued, but I wasn't contributing. When there's no one else on your team and you're sick, everything stops. And sometimes that can be a short term, as mine was, just a flu bug. Sometimes it can be a crippling disease. So that's part of the planning process. But again, we like to start with the end in mind, and to do that, so each of the three pillars, yesterday, today, tomorrow, have three levels: the basic level, the intermediate level, and the executive level. Tomorrow, the executive level is the CEO, the founder. They're responsible for the mission, vision, values. And when I was very young and foolish in my first business, my wife and I started our first business in about 1985. I sort of made fun of the whole concept.
Mhm.
And we had an older, wiser member of our team who was actually one of our professors, who insisted we sit down and do this. And it turned out to be critically important. So one of the early things that we were fortunate with was we were open to the T in grit. We're very teachable. I have very strong opinions. I'm always confident, always certain. That doesn't mean I'm always right. But I'm also able to be told, wait a second, say that again and listen to yourself. Is that smart? So defining what your values are will let you make great decisions that are consistent with who you are in every other aspect of your business. Then you define your mission, what gets you up in the morning. So my mission is to help business owners just like Cosmin win at the great game of business. It's not a complicated mission. It's not a easy mission sometimes, because I have to get to know your business, and I have to get to know more than your business, your family, the stakeholders. But once that's done, we can then define the vision. What will Cosmin's business look like when it reaches maturity? When will you sell it? And boy, I don't know how many times I've had business owners tell me, I'm never going to sell. I like what I'm doing. I'm going to keep doing this till I die. That may well be true, but it may not be possible. You may not be physically or mentally capable. But shouldn't you have a plan from the beginning on how to sell, both in a perfect world and in a tragic world? So that's the mission, vision, values is the entrepreneur. The mid-level of tomorrow is, and often it's the same person. Sometimes you wear multiple hats, right? Think of the entrepreneur on day one. He's got his one client that hired him and he's excited. He's got 9 hats on, right? And they're just, you got to take one hat off and do this, then put another hat on. So the middle ground of tomorrow is marketing. What's your company name? What's your company's marketing collateral going to look like? And marketing is designed in the guerrilla world of the small office, home office, solopreneur to be all about efficiency, because we don't need branding the way Coca-Cola does. We need to be able to create a brand that lets people who look at what we've got to offer say, ooh, that hits me right here in the center of my forehead, and I need this now. And that's why we lead with taxes. Small business owners that have tax problems are there because they've already been successful enough to have tax problems. And we love helping them figure that out and resolve that. The lowest level, but arguably the most important person in the entire organization, is the sales force. And when the salesman makes the sale, tomorrow people, whether it's the executive, the chief marketing officer, or the salesman, are all generally people who are big picture, 50,000 foot view, good storytellers, masters of ambiguity, and terrible at paperwork. So they document the sale poorly. They turn it over to the today people. Now, if you are the today people, it's easier because you don't have to document it as well because your memory from moment to moment is probably okay. I would argue you should document it anyhow because your memory is never going to be as perfect as your notes. The today people are very different than the tomorrow people. They're heads down, get stuff done, checklist driven, people who take pride in doing a good job every day, getting things moving. And they get frustrated by the sales team's failure to fill out the paperwork correctly because that means they got to stop and call the customer or call the salesman and get the rest of the document filled out so they can do their job. But they do, and they get it done. And when they do, by the way, the chief operating officer is the top level, the manager is the middle level, and the doers, customer service reps, underwriters, they're at the base level. And again, just as the salesman's the most important on the tomorrow, because if there's no sale, nothing else happens. The doers are critical because if they don't do their job, it doesn't get done. When they get done, they document it almost as poorly as the tomorrow people do, and they hand it off to the yesterday department. Yesterday people, and I married one, so I know this, are the most special of all. They are the CFO, they are the controller, and they are the accounting and clerical team that do the HR, the compliance, all of the stuff that's after the fact, after the sale's made and after the sale has been delivered, they get involved. And in their world, these are introverted perfectionists. They don't understand why the rest of us can't get it right the first time. Because they can always get it right. If you give them enough data, they will make it perfect because that's what the IRS and the banks are going to demand. I mean, you don't want to balance your bank account to within a few $100s, and you can't give someone a paycheck that says it's somewhere around $3,000, but we're not sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be exactly right. And we all want that. So those are the 9 jobs, the 3 pillars of the today, tomorrow, and yesterday theory that I use to help business owners win at the great game of business. And one of the choices they get to make, each of us, you, me, every other solopreneur out there, is do I want W-2 employees? And today's entrepreneur, the Gen X, Gen Y, and especially Gen Z are often opting for fractional employees instead of traditional employees. And more often than not, those fractional employees are independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Very valid business model. Make certain that they're true independent contractors and you don't accidentally turn them into employees. Because the IRS gets really grumpy over that.
Different.
But the advantage to a fractional employee is you pay for what you use. You don't have a 2,080 hour a year expense. You have a 16-hour a month expense for that one specific thing. And if the business needs change, you can cancel the contract and move on. So when I'm talking to young business owners today, they're actually far more capable of launching and scaling their business than has ever been possible. In 1980, if you wanted to launch and scale a business, you had to go rent a space. You had to rent telephones because you couldn't buy telephones in 1980. You had to rent them from AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
You had to rent a postage meter and you had to fill it with money. And then you had to hire people that would answer the phones and take care of things. Today, I can spin up a virtual business from my desktop with 0 employees and very little capital. And if I've got the right product, I can start making money today. And so my challenge to you and to every one of your listeners is, are you holding yourself back?
Mm.
Are you not on purpose, but because you don't recognize the possibilities you have, coming nowhere near the economic potential that you have right in front of you? Because you do. You can earn as much money next year as you want. And that's a bold statement, but you've freed yourself from the W-2 wage salary trap. A book that I read in the very late 70s was called How to Beat the Salary Trap by Richard K. Riffenbach. Long out of print. You can still get it on Amazon in their used books, but He basically advocated for building a business while you were working for a big company and having that side business, in his case, rental units, drive your future. And when he
Mhm.
passed away in the 90s, he left his son, Richard Jr., $454 million worth of commercial real estate in Southern
Mhm.
California.
Wow.
So there's not one right path. Nobody's going to do it the way Cosmin's doing it. That's why you're doing it,
Mhm.
right? So my role is to help you articulate and define mission, vision, values, your marketing collateral, the financial infrastructure around your business. But most important, where do you want to go? And how open to that T in grit are you to getting there?
That's great. There's so much to unpack there that you shared, and I think I love the tomorrow being the, we'll call it the leader in the organization, the today being the doers, the people task oriented, and then the yesterday are the ones that are looking back, right? CFO, controller, accounting, everybody else. Um, so when you have that framework for your clients, can you just be a little bit more specific on if I'm a fractional or a leadership solopreneur and I engage with you, how will that affect? How does the yesterday, today, and tomorrow framework, kind of align with an engagement that I have with you? Can you dive a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, so the engagement process, we have a very granular approach to this. We start with a scope of engagement meeting to make sure that we're on the same
Mhm.
page, that
Mhm.
we're actually getting what you think you're getting and that we're able to deliver what we think we're going to deliver, right? Once we've got the scope of engagement done, and that includes a pricing discussion because we get paid, right? Then we go into the discovery and implementation. And we start with uh, looking at your digital privacy protections infrastructure.
Mm.
One of the biggest risks the small office, home office entrepreneur takes is if they get a virus, if they get hacked, they can lose their business.
Mhm.
And literally 3 years ago, we were in my conference room. A brick and mortar prospect had come in by referral, and we're sitting there at the conference table, and his smartphone starts buzzing, and it just doesn't stop. And he's apologizing, he's opening, and then he's oh my gosh, his Facebook advertising account had been hacked out of Bangladesh, and they were draining his business debit card. He lost $48,000 in the 15 minutes it took us to get the credit union on the phone and stop the bleeding.
Wow.
And so we take digital privacy and security protection very seriously. That's the first thing we're going to look at.
Mhm.
Second thing we're going to look at is all your documentation. You may be a sole proprietor that has no business name. It's just, I am Cosmin, I'm here to help. And people write a check to Cosmin, and that's a perfectly legitimate business. There's absolutely nothing wrong, especially in the first few days of a business, to be very simple and basic.
Mhm.
Most businesses have taken the next steps that you talked about, getting an LLC, getting a corporation, drafting a partnership agreement. They're all, again, all valid business structures, but we need to know what they say.
Mhm.
And I never take someone's memory as being accurate. I want to actually look at the documents.
Mhm.
I'd had people tell me, oh, we're a corporation. And I look, and what they are is an LLC taxed as a corporation,
Mm.
right? And then they may or may not know the difference between a C Corp and an S Corp.
Yeah.
So we look at documents. We're gathering data in. We're looking at financials. We're going to look at your books and records. How are you keeping your financials? Some people literally have this hat box that they just throw all their receipts in and have a check register. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But in order to turn that stack of paper into books and records that will fit into a business tax return, you may have to engage an accounting or a bookkeeping team to get those cleaned up. So that's the process. And we draw 10 years worth of tax records from the IRS with your written permission, because the IRS has very good records, and that way we don't have to have you digging through 10 years worth of records. We look at your personal health, disability, and life insurance programs and make sure they're adequate for the enterprise that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
The vast majority of my clients are your age or younger with young children in the house.
Mm.
And that adds an extra burden onto the solopreneur. On top of running an active, growing business, there's the recitals. And I love the work that I do because I've been effectively self-employed most of my adult life. And so raising 3 kids, all of them grown now, up with one recital in 30 some odd years of being dad. That's because again, values. What do you value? Well, my value starts with God and then family and then country.
Mm-hmm.
And so if family is that important to me, I can't say to my kids, oh, I have work to do. I'm going to be there for the little league game. By the way, when they grow up, you still go to their recitals. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No, I think it's great. And so, um, it sounds like, you touched on digital privacy and protection. I think that's something I know when we first spoke, and then, we got to know each other a little bit better. It was really intriguing because that's just another component to your business that you don't necessarily think about until, God forbid, it happens, and then you'll never forget about it again, right? And identity fraud, and all of these things are just um, so much more pervasive, and especially if you're a solopreneur working virtually, remotely, your identity and footprint is all over. It has to be, right? Because you're sending messages. Perhaps you're using LinkedIn due to outreach. Perhaps you're using all of these business tools that have free accounts, and you never realized you did so much digital uh, crumbs that you leave everywhere that could be exploited. And so I think that's a fantastic service that, on top of other things that you do. And so I just wanted to call that out as a reminder to all the listeners and everybody that's watching this podcast right now. Don't forget about it. Talk to Donald, look into that, because it's just so critical. And yeah, documentation, everything like that. So let's kind of just, we have a few more minutes, but would love to just kind of talk a little bit more about um, maybe a case study or something, or a use case, or one of your clients, practically taking this, tomorrow, uh, yeah, tomorrow, no, yesterday, today, and tomorrow framework, when you started there, or perhaps leverage that for your clients, and saw some success. Any examples or stories you can tell us?
Yeah. Let me wrap up the engagement so that I can
Sure.
leave your listeners with what we do. We take all this data, we create scenarios, and then we agree on a course of action that will help you modify what you're doing to get where you want to go faster. Then we start implementing that, and then we go into regular, recurring monitor, modify, and coach sessions. That's really the value, is those modify, monitor, and coach sessions. And we're a big fan of what Gino Wickman calls the EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System. We use that as part of our roadmap. We think his book and his system is great, especially for our community, the solopreneur, small office, home office, Main Street business community. So we had a referral from one of my longest and best clients. He's increasing his wealth. He came to me 13 years ago, found me on LinkedIn.
Mm.
He and his partner came in, and it was an afternoon meeting. My son and I sat down with him and said, how can we help? And the grumpier of the two said, we need a financial advisor. And I said, okay, what does that mean to you? And he says, well, I know what it means to you. You're going to ask me 7 questions, show me charts and graphs, and sell me a mutual fund.
Mm.
I said, maybe, I don't know. Do you need a mutual fund? He says, no, I need a financial advisor. So, okay, what does that mean to you? And he says, look, we've got a business. We started it up 6 months ago. It's doing great. We've got $250,000 in the bank, and we don't know what we're doing. And I said, well, let me ask some more questions. Where exactly, what bank is it in? He says, my bank account. I said, so you don't have a business bank account? He said, they won't open one for me. We don't have the right pieces of paper.
Hmm.
Okay. So what you're going to need, and we'll help you with this, is to set up a legal team, a bookkeeping team, and an accounting team. We've got the right people either on our core team or as referrals, and we can get all of this resolved into the near future. Is that what you want? He says, yes, you're hired. And we did that. And 4 years later, the client that I kept, not the grumpy one, sold his interest for X number of millions of dollars. The company, by the way, grew much faster and then collapsed in the pandemic.
Mm.
But he got his $4 million out of it. He's now, and by the way, when he did that, he was a single guy worth $125,000 and a used car. Today he's married with children, about a $25 million net worth, and he'll increase his net worth by between $2.5 and $4 million each year going forward.
Hmm.
So he brought me a client, a couple of young guys that had bought a business, and it's a case study of how not to do things. They did everything wrong. They bought the business on a handshake. They didn't have an outside evaluator look at the business or give them an opinion on the value. They didn't buy it correctly, so they bought all the liabilities along with the assets. But it's a cash cow. And we helped them clean it up. And the first year, which ended about a month ago, they paid off all of the past due debts. And now they're starting to make serious money and getting ready to scale the business. Neither one of them are tomorrow people. So they had to figure out how to hire and manage an outside salesman. And this is a very brick and mortar, blue collar endeavor. So I have a fair number of blue collar endeavors and a fair number of technology endeavors as clients,
Mm-hmm.
as well as some professional practices. So the system, though, the EOS system and the tomorrow, today, and yesterday system works with all of them. So as a practical matter, they're now going to be able to save between $50,000 and $100,000 a year each. And these are young guys. These are guys in their mid-20s that they're going to be able to sock 50 to 100 grand a year each into their personal savings accounts, tax deferred for their retirement. They're going to be able to provide a much better living for their families, take care of their children, and they're adding employees.
Hmm.
So this is a win-win-win scenario.
That's
And
fantastic.
it's what I do. It's what I love doing. I love the success stories. The failures are painful when people just say, no, I'm going to do it my way. I don't need advice. There's nothing I can do. If you don't have the tea and grit, you're just going to have to grind through it on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And in many cases, there's unique situations where you're able to succeed on your own, but the reality is, most people, you need someone alongside you on that journey, and it's not necessarily a W-2 employee, but it's a
Or
exactly a friend, a mentor, a service partner, right? Someone like you and others that can really give you that peace of mind. Again, to be able to focus on what you do best, your specialty, whatever that is. And because the reality is, as a leadership solopreneur, like you said, there's 9 hats, right? That you have day one, you're wearing them all, and you feel that, and I'm 100% confident everybody that's listening here understands that. However, where the difference is, and those that succeed and those that struggle, is how do you level your business in a way that you are surround yourselves with the right people that are ones that you can lean on, just for from a relationship perspective, and others that you can lean on that are in relationship, but obviously they're experts in that space, and you want to make sure that they provide the best level of service. And so just finding that balance gives you that peace of mind quickly. And so you don't have to you have to worry less about tomorrow, because as a tomorrow person, as if you're a soul leadership solopreneur, you know you your y- your skills are in that space, right? Because more than likely you've been an executive, you've been a leader, you've been managing teams, people, departments, and so you're thinking a lot about tomorrow. But you also have to do the today, and many times, and unfortunately, you have to do the yesterday too, right? That's my biggest. That's has always been my biggest struggle of.
Outsource it.
Yeah, exactly. And that was for me, day one, what's the best tool and resources that I can do to outsource that? And
Yes.
and once I got that off my plate, uh, it gave me the runway to be able to focus on what I do best, and providing leadership, being strategic, and building outcomes. And so that's it's so important. And I'm so glad that there's individuals like you, and your solutions that are able to help provide that and help leadership solopreneurs along the way. Excellent. So, speaking of helping leadership solopreneurs, I want to throw this scenario to you with your wealth of experience. I just started. Maybe perhaps I just got laid off, or there was a reorg, or maybe I'm like you said with your example of the author, kind of building on the side something for my future. But I'm thinking about it. Can you give us some words of wisdom, like um, what should we be careful of, or be aware of? What are those potholes, or those things that we need to be aware of from day one in order to help position us for long-term success?
It's a great question, Cosmin, and I'll give you the same advice that my grandmother gave me. She raised me, and she would remind me again and again and again, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Mm,
Know who you are, know what your values are, and make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that have the same value set that you do, that are trustworthy. There are bad people out there, and some of them act like they're good people, and they're doing that so they can get inside and steal from you.
mm,
So trust but verified. And here's the most important part. Know exactly who your target market is. Because your marketing messaging and your selling, the closer I can get to your brain or to your heart, the more powerful the marketing message is.
mhm,
And that's how you get the conversation. And the conversation turns into a relationship. The relationship turns into a mutually profitable enterprise that benefits both sides. And it's critically important that both sides win. That's how you stay together for the long haul. And I've got clients that have been with me for decades.
mm, mhm. Yeah, knowing that target customer is just so critical. And I've seen and spoken to a lot of leadership solopreneurs where in their careers they may have not specialized in, we'll say, one audience. Perhaps like me, I've been in the financial services space, I've been in the technology space, I've been in the retail e-commerce space, right? There's all of these spaces, and there's a tendency to be very generic. I help B2B SaaS businesses drive growth. Okay. Okay. That's a total addressable market of millions and millions, right? Uh, who are you really talking to? And I think that's just so critical, and wise advice, and surrounding yourself with the right people, and is also something that I can attest to as well.
And I'll send to you and anyone else in your audience that would like it a prompt that we have for ChatGPT that will help you in an introspection series of questions really focus in on what you know about yourself to be your highest and best top 1% most unique value. And and you know this already, you just haven't articulated it. And so it's designed specifically to ask you questions and then dive deeper into the answers to get you to tell yourself, who do you really love taking care of? What gets you up in the morning, and what do people say about Cosmin? And so I'll send that to you and to any of your audience that wants it. Absolutely. My
Yeah, well, that would be fantastic. I think what we can do is, if you send it to me when we publish the podcast here, it'll be in the podcast description notes, and so we'll just leave it there. And if it's a link that we can send somebody to, if there's a lot of information, if it's just a few prompts, text wise,
Sure.
we'll. Yeah. Let's do that, and maybe, like I said, we'll add it to the description notes of the podcast here, and that way people can check that out as well, and encourage you to do that. Thank you for that.
No, absolutely. And the last thing I'd say is, if you're not leveraging AI today, you're missing the boat.
Mm,
It's like having an almost free assistant.
mm-hmm.
And anytime I get stuck, anytime I have that brain freeze that happens to all of us, I go to one of my 4 open AI engines and I say, I'm stuck on this. How do I break through?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the ideas are stupid, but most of the time I get great ideas and they're always on. I literally keep them open all day long,
Mm-hmm.
except when I'm doing a podcast.
What's your favorite AI tool that is your go-to?
Depends on what I'm doing.
Mhm.
For certain kinds of analytics, I really like ChatGPT because it allows me to create custom ChatGPTs.
Mm,
So I've got one for ERISA, which is the federal law regarding company plans. Um, I've got another one that's on economics and another one on political science. So if I want to write about those subjects, it's pre-filled with some of the data that I want it to use. For search engine equivalent, I use Perplexity a lot.
mm,
For more complex writing, I like Claude.
mm-hmm.
And for current events, I don't think you can beat the Grok AI on Twitter, X, which used to be called Twitter.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's great. What a long way from having to rent phones from AT&T, huh?
In fact, I was a young new manager when I fought the fight to get us to move from dial telephones to push button. That was the first technology innovation I got.
Yeah, well, kudos to you for being on top of things and evolving with the market demand, the business demand, the customer demand, and I think that's really important. And from the grit principles, right? It's the mindset of growth, right? It's the mindset of, as you said, teachable many times, and of course, just being resilient. There's there isn't a silver bullet for everything. It's a matter of just being open to different things, and being resilient, and you know partnering with people like you and others that the lessens the resiliency risk, because you have peace of mind on certain things. And so just a great way to look at it. But any other final thoughts before we begin to start wrapping things up?
Be as you say, part of that resilience is being open to new ideas. Back 30 years ago, the Toyota way was what all my manufacturing clients were talking about. Today, we're having a lot of conversations about the Musk method.
Mm,
And he has a different approach to business that simply wouldn't have worked back 30 years ago, probably, maybe, I don't know. But it certainly is working well in many of his enterprises today. So I slavishly will imitate the brilliant. And it wasn't from him, it was from another Fortune 100 tech firm. Our daily operating ethos is to innovate, to automate, to outsource or fractionalize, to simplify or to eliminate. And anything that stops production, gets in the way, we run through that litany. Can we innovate on this subject? Can we automate the subject? And we've done a lot of automation. And automation is more doable today than it's ever been. And fractional employees, I have some of the best teammates I've ever had because I can go anywhere in the world. My AI financial planning team is out of Barcelona, Spain.
Hmm.
And by the way, their AI engine is called Claude. No, I'm sorry, Mistral. Mistral, which is the European Union.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So we can get best in class people from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're very conscious of privacy. We keep a good firewall between personal and private information and our contract employees, but they're able to do things far more efficiently than I'd ever been able to do in business. I wish I'd had this tool set 30 years ago. I really do.
Fantastic. Well, Donald, I really appreciated the conversation and the insight. Today, having Donald reminded us of the importance of just understanding, yesterday, today, tomorrow, and more importantly, how to really safeguard your business and just have the peace of mind of your business and in the we'll say the operational approach and financial approach so many ways. And I think building a foundation with that is so important for the long-term success as a leadership solopreneur. And before we kind of close things out, Donald, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how should they reach you? Any kind of links, feel free to share them with those that are listening.
Sure. The easiest way for the solopreneur to see what we do is to go to iwealthdigital.com. If you want to see the whole team and the depth and breadth of the additional services, it's independentwealthconnections.com. And on both sites, on all of our sites, there's always a button that you can hit to schedule a Zoom meeting with me. And my time is yours and your audience's. I love helping people win at the great game of business. I never charge for the initial consultation, although we're debating that. And I just think for your audience, this is the most exciting time in the history of mankind to be in the small business world.
That's right.
It's really a very special moment, and you can do amazing things. And we would love to be there to help you on that journey.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Donald. I really appreciated your insights and just hearing about your incredible journey and everything that you do. So really appreciate it. And before we close off, what I want to do is I just want to thank you for everybody that has listened up until this point. And I really hope that this discussion has inspired you in your journey as a leadership solopreneur. And to everyone that's listening, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Check out the Solo Grit community at sologrit.com. And of course, you can always subscribe to our weekly grit guide that allows you to have that key topic every Monday morning at 8 a.m. to hit your inbox and for you to be able to help start your week to help empower you in your journey as a leadership solopreneur, where together we succeed. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all and speaking to you all on the future topics here at the Solopreneur Grit podcast. Thank you.